think that wraps me up. Are there any questions? So I did a lot there. I spoke quickly. That's about right, isn't it? Are there any questions from students first? Any points of clarification? No? Anything from the faculty? Or I know we're meeting the faculty at the moment, so.
If you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, you might not.
Okay. Is there any compulsion to make their dissertation that their respective specialization area, or they can choose any area for their dissertation?
Yeah, they can choose any area. Let me show you a slide up on. See if I can find it. How do I find it? Yeah.
That's what I I
I spoke to the second years yesterday. Did lots of different stuff with them, and this was the diagram that I showed them to locate, I suppose, their study. The first one is an area of study which will be dictated to by their discipline in their MBA. So if they're an MBA finance, then I would expect it to be finance. If it's human resources, if it's international, then that's the area of study. It's still a huge area, which is where your next circle is this topic. What's the topic? Is it hygiene factors? Is it a leadership factor? Is it a model? Is it a concept? You know, what is this area of study that's going to be undertaken? Basing an area of study, I would suggest on a model or a concept which has been previously created by an author who will give you a good launch pad. You know, how does something apply to a different context, something like that. But this topic of study, and that's the hard bit. This one's done for them. This is their bit. And then that final circle is the feasibility. I was saying to the students yesterday, if they wanted to know on, let's say, the motivation of workers, of female workers in coffee shops, that's fine. If they wanted to know about the motivation of female coffee shop workers in New York, getting to New York might be slightly tricky. Yeah, it's just not a feasible thing. And really, to me, I mean, I'm being facetious, but it's the sample size of the feasibility. It's the number of people they're going to interview, question, who they want to question. You know, getting to people. And also, I don't know what it's like in India, but in the UK, depending upon where the organisation you want to go into, it can be quite tricky. The access can be quite tricky. So I said to the student was it might be they want to discuss this, but think about they might have contacts. It might be that their father works in a company, and it might be that you get into that company. Or they've got a cousin that works in IBM, or someone's sister works. It might be trying to use some of those contacts. And some of the faculty as well. Some of the training and placement officer might have some contacts that will allow them to go into. The other one was any ethical issues, just to be aware of, again, for feasibility. So we spoke about if they wanted to do something on the rise in private education, that's fine, leadership or financial base. But if I'm working with children or vulnerable people, is there an ethical issue there that I need to be be aware of. And again, it's a feasibility. If it's fine, then no problem.
So they don't need to fill this ethical form. They're required to fill the ethical form.
An ethics form, yes, I believe so.
Like as we do the engineering,
And it
full
is your
track, fast track,
engineering. That's right. It will be the short form, unless they are working with children
Yeah.
or vulnerable or
and that
animals.
three kind of form, full type, fast
Yeah,
track.
3 pages. It's
Yeah.
a 3-page form, something like that. It's a short form. If you're working with under 18s and vulnerable, then it becomes a long form.
Yes,
And it's
fast track.
yeah, it's very hard. It's a tiresome form that needs to be ethically approved. But in this case, there shouldn't be any problems at all. Yeah, it should be standard. And this, I mean, really, we'll talk later, but this is where the tutors, the faculty will advise and support and develop. So, but it is for the students to come up.
Okay, any doubts? No, sir. Okay, then we can write it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Students can go to their classroom.
Had the expected contact time, we would a minimum expected contact time. And normally, as I said, and I would expect to see their outline, their project outline to begin with. At some point, I want to see the findings they're coming up with and how they're interpreting them, and then I want to see them before